Have you experienced somebody passing away, but they're alone? They maybe waited until you'd left the room or gone home. And a lot of people do that. A lot of nurses will tell you that when somebody's in hospital and they end up passing away, it'll be 5 minutes after visiting time, 10 minutes after visiting time. A lot of the nurses that come to me for readings tell me that when they ring the relatives, they're in the car park, they've just left, or they've just got home from the hospital. My granddad did that actually, but they've just got home from the hospital. And it's because they do it deliberately. It's not because they don't love you, they don't care, they don't want you around them, etc. But it's because, would you, if you've got sons, daughters, etc., would you want them to sit by your bedside and suffer and watch you pass away? And most people would say no. Yeah. Very, very rarely some people are scared, and so they do want somebody there holding the hand, etc. But as I say, if they pass away and they've nobody there with them, don't worry about that. Also, please don't feel guilty. We've even had where people live at home and they're at home and they are going to die, and the person that they love has just gone out into another room to make a coffee or something, and they pass away. We've even had that. And then they come to me and they feel guilty. They say, oh, I wasn't with them, etc. I mean, if they've suffered a long illness and you know they're going to pass away, you've probably said everything you needed to say anyway. Because this is kind of the instances I'm talking about, not like where they knew and they had a heart attack and they just went, you know. It'd been more sort of they're in hospital or they were at home and they were poorly and they knew they were going to pass away. Things like heart attacks, people don't generally know. They just have a heart attack and go very quickly. But if they've had a long illness or things like that, when they pass away, they usually will do it by themselves. And it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Don't people come and say, I feel really guilty and I feel... And when I speak to your loved ones up in spirit world, they never even mention it. They don't say, you know, she left the room to make coffee, or she left, you know, I was in hospital and she left and then I passed away by myself. Sometimes there's a nurse with them, by the way, if the nurse knows they're going, or a doctor. But don't worry about it. They never ever say you left me or you did this or you did that. And you'll find that some can even hold out. The fascinating ones are if they know they're going, if they've had a long illness and they're poorly and they know they're going and they've got a relative in Australia or somewhere like that, and the relative have got to get on a plane and it can be 2 days. They can hold out for a couple of days. Now people might say, no, because your time is when you're gone, you're gone. I would have advocated that a long time ago. I would have said you plan your life before you come down. You know when you're going and the date you're going is the date you're going. However, being a psychic medium for 40 years, I've had a lot of people, and it's quite sort of, it right amuses me when they come through from spirit and say this, yeah? And we have what I believe now is exit points, yeah? So you may have wanted to exit 6 months ago, or you may have planned to exit 6 months ago, and you may have another exit further up, another exit further up, meaning exiting this world into spirit, yeah? And you didn't pick the first exit point, you survived. You know, again, people usually with things like cancer, they'll give you 6 months. Some people can last 2 years, yeah, and they've been giving them 6 months, etc. We've all heard of stories like that. They can go earlier. It can happen. It can happen. If they choose to go earlier, if the head goes, I've had enough, I may as well go. You know, I'm in pain, I don't like this, I may as well go. They can do that too. That's rarer. It's rarer. But when they come through to me from spirit, the relative in spirit comes through, and they'll say to me, I was meant to go on the Tuesday, and I went 4 days over. I went on whenever, Friday, Saturday, or something like that. And the person I'm reading for will then go, oh yeah, they look really grey on the Tuesday. Or you know, they had whatever, a fete on the Tuesday, or they did something on the Tuesday. Oh yeah, yeah. It's very rare they sort of say, oh, I went 3 months over, 6 months over, etc. I think the longest I've known has been a month, couple of months. And they're so proud of themselves. They kind of brag. It's almost like I beat the system. You know, I was meant to go in October and I went in November, December, or something like that. And they always like come across with like a pride when they talk about that. I went a month over, and they're always really quite proud of it. My grandma were nearly 103. I think she went years over, but she were always well. I think she went years and years over. But yeah, the most I ever see is about 2 months. I've gone over 2 months. So again, in a case like that, if they've got, again, something like cancer, there's other illnesses, but the doctor gave them 6 months to live and they went 2 years. Well, that wasn't their actual date then. It could have been in 6 months they could give up. The brain could go, I've had enough, I'm going to give up, I'm going. Yeah. And also if they take themselves over, you know what I mean, if they've unalived themselves, that could be a date too. They were probably meant to do it. It were all planned before they come down. So that's not, you know, oh, they did it before they should have gone or something. That could have been their date to go back up in spirit. Now, if somebody has done that, as I say, they were on their own, don't worry about it. And you can still talk to them in spirit. You can do it yourself. You don't need likes of me. Anyone can do mediumship and deal with their loved ones up in spirit world. So all you have to do is say it with grandma. You say, grandma, please come through to me, etc. And you say in a way that I understand. So that could be smelling the perfume. They're not going to sort of appear in front of you in your living room, you know, but that could be smelling the perfume. It could be smelling tobacco smoke if it were granddad or something like that. It can be a flower appearing in the middle of a pavement outside your garden. It can be, you know, if we see things like robins, a lot of people love robins and they land on your window or they look directly at you, or I think that was squirrels as well. But it can be anything. Mine's music, and I don't particularly do music. The only time I have music on or noise on, because I'm psychic, we do like it quiet, but music on or noise on is in the car, and it's probably an 80s CD as well at that, you know. But if I'm walking around my house singing, and I sing, we always sing like 3 lines of the same song. It's very rare we kind of sing a song all the way through. But if I sing 3 lines of a song, and then I think about it after a while, oh, wait a minute, what am I singing? Yeah, and there would be a message in that song. Or sometimes people get in the car and put the radio on, and your loved one's music comes on, that the favourite song that they loved. Or even, again, something in the song that's like a meaning. So if you're not a music person, you'll do something very different. You know, a lot of people get white feathers. I'm a psychic. I've worked as a psychic for 40 years. I've only ever had 4 white feathers in my lifetime. So that's obviously not my thing. My thing's the music, or seeing the little birds that land on my windowsill and go, hello, and they go off, yeah? Things like that. But signs can be all different, but they will give you a sign. So again, don't worry about them. When they're in spirit, don't worry about them. They worry more about us than we worry about them. Okay? So they're okay now. They're okay. They're at peace. They're in a nice place. It's a lovely place. It's very calm. It's very nice. They've got loved ones with them. Yeah? You may be one of them loved ones, but they've got loved ones with them. If they were young, and you say, but they don't know anybody up there. They kind of do, because they've got grandmas, great-grandmas, your great-grandmas, etc. Someone will come and look after them when they get there, even if it's a spirit guide. Sometimes it's a spirit guide, not necessarily an ancestor or a relative. But most of the time, it's somebody you've loved. It's an ancestor, it's a relative. Can be an animal. If you've loved an animal, they will be with someone, generally like a granddad, great-granddad, grandma, etc. But never worry about people up there. Never worry, oh, they passed alone and it were awful. And number one, it's not really awful. They kind of see, you know, you see a lot of people reaching out, or just, my grandma was seeing all the 6 sisters had gone before her, and she kept saying, what's our Joan doing here? you know, when I were there and she could see it behind me, and I'm like, don't turn around. I'm a psychic. I didn't want to turn around and see Auntie Joan. And she saw a lot of them, and she had in the dreams, she dreamt of tunnels and seeing a lot of her sisters and saying, oh, you're here, you're here. And then they sent her back. She was there another month after that, after she'd experienced that. So never worry about Spirit World is a wonderful, lovely place. It's full of love. It's full of beautiful gardens, beautiful halls of music, etc. And they can look down on you and send you love. So always send your love up. Let them send you love down. Yeah. If you are grieving, I do have a grief video guide, and it's dealing with your own grief. Yeah. Because there's a lot out there that just deal with helping others with their grief. So it's dealing with your own grief. There is 75 videos. You don't need all 75 because they're in 5 categories. There's who the person was to you. There's how they passed over. Practical advice on how to deal with grief, help you get over your grief and move on from grief. Spiritual advice, etc. As in, where are they, what happens in spirit, etc. And planning a funeral if you've not done it already. So if you look on the link tree or the comments below, that will be available there, dealing with your own grief video guide.